Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Today we will be continuing our Basic Tactics series. For those of you that don't know, the Basic Tactics series is where I go through weapon by weapon the different options available to the Imperial Guard infantry, and I covered them pretty deeply. I go through how much they cost, what they can do, where they're best served in your army, if they're any good, and what regiment works with them well. The point of this, the reason why it's sort of called the Basic Tactics series is it's aimed at players who, even though we go into a lot of detail, it's aimed at people who are new to the Imperial Guard or who are new to Warhammer in general, and they need to get an idea of what the different weapons can do, because the Guard have quite a lot of weapon options available to them. And for new and for more experienced players, it's more about just either reaffirming what they already knew, or maybe learning something new which they thought, which they'd written off. Now, today we're going to be looking at the first of our elite heavy weapons. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, basically, you pay a lot of points for it, and it does a lot of damage. I've split all the weapons down into either budget or elite. Budget weapons are ones that cost very few points, but then again, won't do a lot of damage. Cheap, cheerful, and a bit cheeky. Elite weapon systems are ones that are going to be the main damage dealers of your army. The ones that your opponent's going to fear and want to get rid of. And the first one that we're looking at today is the missile launcher. Now, I love missile launchers. I have to say that. I love las cannons as well. But I do like missile launchers because, well, I especially like Steel Legion missile launchers just because they look really cool. I mean, that's the picture of the one here. Little sneak peek for you guys. The Steel Legion, the 234th Armageddon Mechanized Infantry. They're on their way. Should be seeing those guys coming up in the next couple of weeks. But less sneaky beakiness. Let's get back to the video. I love the Steel Legion rocket launcher just because it looks cool. It is rule of cool. It's nothing like having a good old RPG. Now, the problem with the missile launcher is it's quite a pricey weapon. It's 20 points. Now, for that, you get two firing modes. You can either fire a crack or a frag missile. Now, a crack rocket is an armor-piercing rocket. It's designed for killing tanks, for cracking them open. And it is a single shot, strength 8, AP -2, D6 damage. Now, a lot of people think missile launchers only D3 damage. Don't believe them. They are D6 damage. They're pretty tasty. Now, the frag option is used for fragging infantry, getting those kills, getting those frags. And it's an anti-infantry option, and it basically allows you to fire D6 bolter shots. D6 strength 4 AP nothing shots. Now, the problem with the missile launcher is it's trying to do two things at once. You're paying 20 points, and you can either fire one okay anti-tank shot, or you can fire one basically mortar shell. The reason you're paying so much is you're basically paying for a las cannon, a sort of las cannon, and the mortar in the same round. Now, I am a big fan of firing crack rockets. The reason for that is just because I believe in the strategy of go big or go home. And what that means is, as Guard, we only hit half the time anyway. So when we do hit the enemy, we want to hurt them. So I'm not a big fan of frag missiles. Now, I played 3 500-point games this weekend where I pretty much exclusively used frag rockets just to give them a really good run. And I think they only killed like one or two things. I think it was a couple of... I think I killed, between the two missile launchers I was running, I think I killed one or two Necron Immortals and one or two Space Wolves, I think. Also, I'm not a big fan of frag rockets, but they can be useful when facing large hordes of Guardsman equivalent models, GEQ. So, for example, if you're facing a Nid Bug Swarm, that strength 4 means you're winning on 3s, which is pretty useful. If you're facing other Guardsmen, missile launchers are actually surprisingly good. Because again, you're wounding on 3s. Against Orcs, they're okay, because although you're winning on 4s, they generally won't get an armor save against you. You only got a 6-up t-shirt save. Against Marines, honestly, you're probably better shooting a crack rocket. Anything that isn't, against Skitarii infantry or Eldar infantry, you're probably okay to shoot frag because again you're wounding on 3s. But against anything tougher than that, you want to be shooting the crack rocket. Now, I like crack rockets just because they just have a tendency to do pretty well, and it's that D6 damage, guys. It's that D6 damage. It's not to be underestimated. Now, the problem with the missile launcher. So I love to shoot crack missiles, right? But the problem with the missile launcher is it's the same cost as a las cannon, 20 points. And I won't go into detail on the las cannon here, but put it this way: you get +1 strength and +1 AP. So if you're going to be shooting crack rockets all the time, you might as well just take a las cannon, because that's strength 9 AP -3 versus strength 8 AP -2, and it's the same cost. So las cannons are the epitome of go big or go home. And I do like rocket launchers, but I think from a competitive standpoint, spamming as many las cannons as you can get your standard issue guardsman hands on is probably what you want to be doing. Now, the one advantage the missile launcher has, it has two advantages. One, if you're playing like your basement battles against your mates, and one of your mates is running orcs or nids or Skitarii or a standard Eldar list, nothing too cheesy, then you're alright going with missile launchers, because that means the majority of the time you can shoot them out as infantry because you know what you're going to be facing. You can shoot those frag rounds, and you have the versatility of if you need to pop a rocket off, you can do that. Second advantage is if you're going into a tournament. Now, although I love las cannons, and they are, I'd say probably the best weapon, and you want to be spamming las cannons. If you're going into a tournament and you just don't know what you're going to be facing, there could be all sorts of stuff there. Missile launchers are okay. Missile launchers can do it, because it means if you end up facing a nid horde, crack out the frag rounds, and if you end up facing a lot of tanks, crack out the crack rounds. So they do have that versatility. Now, the problem, but like I said, generally speaking, most of the time you're going to want to shoot you're going to want to be shooting tanks with them. So the majority of the time you're going to be shooting las cannons. Now, the weapons that the missile launcher goes well with, it goes well with almost anything, really. If you put a melter or a plasma in there, it's going to complement the anti-tank capabilities. If you put a sniper or a grenade launcher in there, it's going to up the anti-tank capabilities. Flamers are better to run on their own. Not a big fan of flamers in infantry squads. I guess to offset the high cost of the rocket launcher, and I haven't tried this, guys, so disclaimer. An interesting, relatively cheap infantry squad would be sniper and missile launcher, because you can shoot the sniper rifle at infantry and fish, and try and do some damage there, and shoot the frag. So if you had a sniper, a bolter, and a frag rocket, that's D6 plus 2 strength 4 shots. That's quite nice. But also, if you end up shooting at vehicles, the sniper rifle's perfectly fine to shoot at vehicles. If you get that 6 wound, you do a mortal wound. So the sniper and the rocket launcher kind of complement each other really, really well. I'm starting to become quite a fan of sniper rifles because they're so cheap. They can offset the expensive weapons really easily. Now, where do you want to be running rocket launchers? Well, you do not want to be putting them in heavy weapon squads. They're too expensive. They will get killed very easily. Most enemies will see a missile launcher heavy weapon squad and go, right, there's some anti-tank, and kill them. I have seen, when I went to that Trios team tournament a few months ago, there was an Imperial Guard player there who I know pretty well, and he loves his missile launcher heavy weapon squads. My brother went up against him, and my brother was running assault cannon spam. And in one turn, he killed all 4 or 5, whatever it was, missile launcher squads. Just because you hit on 3s, rerolling 1s with a captain, wound on 2s, rerolling 1s with a lieutenant. Just murdered them. Absolutely murdered them. So where you want to put them is in either, you don't want to put them in command squads either, okay, because a missile launcher in a command squad will put a big target on it, because it will, the enemy will see that you've got a missile launcher in command squad, they'll see there's some anti-tank there, it's only a 4-man unit, the command squad, so they'll kill it. Now, an interesting place to put it would be in either a veteran squad or an infantry squad. Now, you could put it in an infantry squad just because it's flexible. It gives your infantry squad a bit of anti-tank punch or a bit of anti-infantry punch. It's not too bad. I ran 2 Steel Legion units this week, and like I said, I did 3 games at this 500-point sort of mini tournament. And I won all 3, by the way. And I was noticing that my missile launcher plus plasma gun Steel Legion squads were doing very well. They were probably my men of the match. And so I can tell you that plasma and missile launchers work quite well together, because they're both strength 8 when you fire their anti-tank options. So that's really good. So in infantry squads they're quite good. I've used that from experience. Veteran squads. Now the reason I'm saying this with veteran squads is because with the points changes to plasma, putting grenade launchers on veterans has become a very interesting idea. And your veteran squads are often going to be over 24-inch range. So if you take a veteran squad and you give it like a bolter and 3 grenade launchers and a missile launcher, that's a relatively cheap unit. That's a 96-point squad. So about 100 points. And you're going to be sat at long range because your grenade launchers and missile launcher don't need to get close to the enemy. So you can sit at 24-inch range, rapid fire, plinking, not rapid fire, 24-inch range, plinking away with your shots. Now, if you come across an enemy vehicle with that veteran squad configuration, switch to all crack grenades and crack rockets, and off you go. You know, you've got a good chance of, it's all lots of D3 damage and D6 damage. So lots of potential. If you can sneak a few wounds through, potentially do a lot of damage. If you come across an enemy infantry unit, then 3 D6 strength 3 shots plus basically 4 D6 shots hitting on 3s. If you're shooting something like Nids or Orcs or Guardsmen, something wounding on 4s. Or 3s in the missile launch, for example. It's a lot of frag rounds you can get in there. A lot of shrapnel flying. So it's definitely something I'm interested in using, because with my Steel Legion, I've ended up with, because the standard squad that you come with, that you buy from Games Workshop, comes with the grenade launcher and missile launcher. I've ended up with like 5 grenade launchers or 4 grenade launchers and 2 missile launchers. So I feel like I could definitely take a few, grenade launcher, missile launcher veteran squads and see how they perform. It's on my list to try with the Steel Legion. Now, that's pretty much it, guys. Regiment traits that work well with this. The thing with the missile launcher, it's such a jack-of-all-trades weapon. It goes well with any. It can go well with Cadians, of course, but any regiment will find taking missile launchers an alright thing. They fit it anywhere, and I guess that's the biggest advantage, and I guess that's what you're paying for with your 20 points, is the fact that the missile launcher you're paying for the fact that it can do almost any job. It can do anti-infantry well because it's strength 4 with D6 shots, and it can do anti-tank well because at the end of the day it's still strength 8 and it's still D6 damage. When you're shooting a missile launcher at a Rhino or a Predator, the standard heavy, medium vehicle monsters creatures is toughness 7 with a 3+ save. So the fact that you've only got a 5-up save against your missile and you do D6 damage, that's pretty good. You're not really noticing the difference between that and the las cannon, are you? Now, one funny thing I want to say about missile launchers before signing off is that my missile launchers have a tendency of really overperforming against characters. They shouldn't do it. They shouldn't do it. But and I always find it really amusing because it's the fact that basically I'm using a weapon, what is it, like a RPG-7. That's what the Bastille Legion missile launchers are. They're basically RPG-7s. A weapon, an ancient weapon from, pre-Imperial terror. M2. It's from Millennium 2. The fact that I consistently kill characters is absolutely fantastic. And that's through all editions. In 8th edition alone, my missile launchers have claimed innumerable captains and like tech priests and stuff like that. This weekend alone, I should kill my missile launcher, jumped out, had to hit on a 5 with a crack rocket. I got the 5 to hit, wounded on a 2 or 3 versus an iron priest, got the wound. He failed his 2-up save, in which case it was a 4-up. And D6 damage. And I just did 6 wounds to him and just killed him in one go. Couldn't do anything about it. Likewise, I've killed a Terminator captain on 4 wounds with one. That's coming up in one of the battle bots I'll be posting soon. My missile launchers just seem to consistently overperform against characters. Back in... they killed Dante. The chapter master of the Blood Angels took an RPG to the chest. And there's one thing that's missile launchers really have going for them is rule of cool. Because they are cool. And they're also, the last thing I want to say is they're very fluffy. Things like las cannons and plasma guns and even, melters to a certain extent, they're quite rare weapons in the Imperial Guard. Plasma guns especially are meant to be one to a company kind of thing. And sort of, kind of similar with las cannons too. But missile launchers are common throughout the Imperial Guard. So if you're collecting a true fluffy Imperial Guard army, you want to be running lots of heavy bolters and lots of missile launchers and lots of grenade launchers, because they are the common weapons that nearly every Imperial Guard regiment is issued with. And then you get specialists with las cannons and specialists with plasma guns and specialists with melters. So that's why I like running missile launchers, because at the end of the day, if you're not playing competitively, if you're playing in some basement battles against your friends, and you want to run as close as you can in 40k a realistic human army, you want to be taking missile launchers, and you want to be taking grenade launchers and heavy bolters and heavy stubbers. That's why I put heavy stubbers on things instead of storm bolters, because it's just rule of cool. Nothing like, because when you run missile launchers, and when this has sort of gone off tangent slightly, but when you run missile launchers and when you run heavy stubbers, you can do a lot of Black Hawk Down quotes. RPG. if your Valkyrie gets hit by enemy missile launcher and goes down, we've got a Black Hawk Down, the Super 6 going down. Or if you're using heavy stubbers like I like to use, someone get on that 50, get on that 50. Whenever I fire my heavy stubbers, and I mean religiously without fail, whenever I fire my heavy stubbers, I always say get on that 50, always. And it seems to work, because I get a lot of hits in my heavy stubbers. They do more than they should do. But anyway, going off topic, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Bit of fun, bit of fluff at the end, and I'll see you guys next time.